Good day, and welcome back to the channel, where we like to dive deep into some of John Deere's coolest history. On this episode, we're going to be looking at the history of front-wheel assist tractors, and how John Deere began to implement them in some of their most famous machines. We're going to be covering some of the first prototypes, and how John Deere began to improve this up until present day. So stay tuned. But before we get started, I'd like to thank all the subscribers out there, and if you're new to the channel and don't mind clicking subscribe, it really helps. So let's get into it. For the start of this story, we're going back to 1912, where John Deere had success selling implements, but wasn't known for selling tractors. Now at this time, John Deere was the #1 manufacturer of plows in the world, but didn't have any tractors to pull it. With pressure from farmers to buy a package deal of a tractor and a plow, Deere decided in March of 1912 to start developing one. With a couple failed attempts by John Deere engineers, it wasn't until 1914 that Joseph Dane decided to step in. Joseph Dane was a member of the board of directors and a good engineer. He told Deere that he had a tractor design that he wanted to start working on, and over the next 4 years, they worked and worked until they came out with something decent. And on November 19th of 1917, Deere's board voted to manufacture 100 of these Dane-type tractors. These experimental machines were built in East Moline, Illinois, and this is actually where John Deere Harvester Works would begin its operations. These Dane tractors might look a little odd today, but they were the first John Deere all-wheel drive tractor. By the following year, John Deere would abandon this idea, in 1918 buying the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company and producing the Waterloo Boy tractors until 1923. And it really wouldn't be until the 1950s that you'd see front-wheel assists start to become popular. By this time, there's really two companies that were thinking ahead, and these two companies were L&Co Products and Elwood Manufacturing Company. Some of these Elwood front-end kits have been installed on John Deere 60s, along with Minneapolis Moline, International Harvester, and Massey Ferguson's. But it wasn't until 62 that Minneapolis Moline came out of the factory with a front-wheel assist. This would be equipped on their M5 model, which would soon become the M504. From what I can find, John Deere was messing around with some front-wheel assists during the late 60s, and it wasn't until 69 till they offered it on the 4020. This option would also be made available on the 4320, but not too many are seen out there today. And I believe at the time why this didn't become so popular for Deere is that buyers really just didn't understand that it was front-wheel assist and not the MFWD we know today. This added assist would help you get through tough spots in fields and not pull an extra bottom on a plow, and at that time, that's what farmers wanted, to be more economical. John Deere's front-wheel drive would be powered by hydraulics. They would use this hydraulic pressure to run a motor inside of the hub. It would then be ran into a planetary to get the power correct. By the time the 70s rolled around, there was quite a debate, wondering if this front-wheel assist option is even worth the added cost, as many farmers would rather have duals to get their traction. By the time 1973 would roll around, with the release of the 30 series, John Deere would continue to include this hydraulic front-wheel assist, although they would be an uncharacteristic feature. These 30 series front-wheel assists would give the option for 2 forward speeds and 1 reverse speed. With the release of the 40 series in 1978, John Deere would continue to use this hydraulic front-wheel assist. But as farms got bigger and more modernized, John Deere would need to release something better, and that came in 1983. The John Deere 50 series would see the first mechanical front-wheel drive, which would be huge, finally getting away from hydraulic front assist. The 50 series would use a drive shaft coming out of the MFWD clutch, which controlled when the front-wheel assist would come on and when it would shut off. One cool fact on the 4450 was that it was the best-selling model in the entire 50 series lineup. The 80s would also see the first time the ZF front end was offered on a John Deere tractor. The ZF front end is a lot lighter duty, easier to make, and cheaper to produce front end. The end of the 80s would see the release of the 55 series, which would maintain a similar MFWD. A couple things that would differ are the switch, allowing you to put it in the auto position, which would engage when the tractor tells that the wheel is slipping. The 4960 would soon follow in 1992, becoming a very modern looking tractor and giving John Deere inspiration for the future. And this main difference could be seen in 1995 as John Deere moved in a new direction, releasing the 100 series. This 100 series would feature heavier duty front axles, and it was at this time that it was almost more unlikely to see a two-wheel drive compared to an MFWD version. Now, John Deere would continue to use this style MFWD up until present day, as it's proven and reliable. The system features a shaft running up into the front axle, into the differential, which has two shafts going out, running into the planetaries. This has been a brief history of how John Deere front wheel assist and MFWD tractors came to be. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.